The NASCAR garage has a price tag on its temper, and drivers are starting to admit something that changes the entire culture of the sport. They want to throw hands, they want to settle scores the old school way. But a dollar amount is stopping them cold, and it's forcing a reckoning that nobody saw coming. Let's get into why the fight game in NASCAR has fundamentally changed, and whether that's actually a good thing. Here's what's happening behind the scenes. Ben Rhodes just finished up at Darlington, and he had every intention of finding Tyler Ankrum after the Truck Series race. He was fired up. He wanted to handle business the way racers have for decades. Then he thought about the money. Rhodes didn't swing, didn't even go looking. He sat in the infield care center, cooled off, and admitted the truth. A fine $75,000 was the number he threw out, made it simply not worth it. That $75,000 figure? That's where Ricky Stenhouse Jr. got hit with last year after he walked straight up to Kyle Busch and threw a premeditated punch at the All-Star race. Different series, different scale, but the message is the same across the board. Drivers from trucks to Cup are now openly saying the same thing. I wanted to fight, but the penalty made me think twice. Now let's add the context that makes this a much bigger conversation. NASCAR has always been a sport where tempers flare and grudges get settled in real time. The 1979 Daytona 500, the race that launched NASCAR into the mainstream, ended with Cale Yarborough and the Allison brothers throwing punches on national television. That moment made the sport. It created a mythology around drivers who settled their own disputes. Fast forward to today, and the landscape is completely different. Brad Moran, NASCAR's Cup Series managing director, was on SiriusXM recently trying to explain the sanctioning body's position. He talked about safety concrete pit roads, size differences between drivers, protecting the athletes. But the drivers aren't buying that as the real reason. Ricky Stenhouse put it bluntly, I don't think it's protection. We drive race cars at 200 miles an hour. Safety is definitely not a concern of mine. So if it's not about safety, what's really behind the fines? This is where the analysis gets sharp, because the answer reveals how much the business of NASCAR has changed. The fines are a deterrent, yes. But Joey Logano said something that cuts to the heart of it. He pointed out that for drivers with major sponsors, the money isn't even the biggest issue. It's the long-term damage to their brand. Logano fought when he was 19. Now he's 35, and he's still answering for those decisions. Sponsors ask about it. Partners want to know if they're aligning themselves with someone who creates problems, and everything lives on YouTube forever. There's no fading into the past anymore. William Byron said the same thing. He admitted there have been plenty of times he wanted to fight, but his sponsors' culture-driven partners would hate it. And that consideration sits heavier than any fine NASCAR could write. So here's what's really happening. The financial penalty is the headline, but the real cost is reputational. Drivers are weighing whether a few seconds of satisfaction are worth jeopardizing relationships that fund their entire operation. Brad Keselowski offered the most nuanced take. He loves the emotion. He loves the raw authenticity of drivers showing they care. But he also said something it's hard to argue with. If there's a brawl every week, it stops being special. It starts looking unprofessional. His rule? If it's for a top 5 or top 10 finish, let him go. But if two guys are fighting over 25th place, that's just a bad look. He referenced the 2016 Truck Series scuffle at Gateway. John West Townley and Spencer Gallagher wrestling on the banking, and laughed. That did not look good, he said, and he's right. The fan and driver reaction is all over the map, which tells you how complicated this issue is. Some fans miss the old days. They want the fire, the raw emotion, the moments that make NASCAR feel dangerous and real. They see the fines as NASCAR sanitizing the sport and squeezing out the personality that built it. Other fans, and a surprising number of drivers, are fine with the new reality. Shane Van Gisbergen came from Australian supercars, where fighting gets you banned for a year. He said that's how it should be. Bubba Wallace offered a compromise, man-to-man, go to the ground, end it, hockey style, and keep the crew guys out of it. Daniel Suarez wanted to fight Ross Chastain after Las Vegas, but backed off because of the fine. Kyle Busch, who's been in his share of skirmishes, laughed and said the difference is premeditation. If you do it in the heat of the moment, you get more leeway. Plan it out like Stenhouse did, that's when the hammer comes down. Let's look at two possible futures for fighting in NASCAR. Best case, the current system holds. Drivers police themselves without throwing punches. Confrontations happen, heated conversations, aggressive driving, the occasional shove, but nothing that crosses into full-scale fighting. The sport keeps its edge without alienating sponsors or turning off casual fans. The The moments when fists do fly become genuine events again, not weekly occurrences. Worst case, the fines keep escalating to the point where drivers stop confronting each other entirely. Everything gets handled through passive-aggressive driving, anonymous media shots, and simmering resentment that never boils over. The sport loses the authenticity that made it connect with fans in the first place. Rivalries feel manufactured because nobody's willing to actually stand face-to-face and settle things. So here's the real question. Is NASCAR doing the right thing by pricing, fighting out of the sport, or are they slowly killing the raw emotion that made people fall in love with racing in the first place? And if you're a driver, what's worth more, clear conscience after settling a score or the sponsor check that pays the bills? Drop your take in the comments. I want to hear where you stand on this. And if you want straight, unfiltered analysis on the biggest debates in motorsports, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Sportswire USA keeps you covered. Let's talk racing.